Well, hi everybody, and it's great to be with you. And I remember our first meeting together, and Harvey's body language was pretty much like this. It was really open to the idea of getting together and talking about his feelings and where the farm was going and sharing and sharing information. So it was back then that we did the Kolbe analysis. And so I was just, where are you guys at here? So I have a whole binder. I have a whole binder on Aberhart. This is an Aberhart binder. And this goes back 10 years, but I got all of your Kolbe indexes here. And I'm a kind of a big believer of the book, Good to Great. And in the book, Good to Great, Jim Collins talks about a number of principles. But one of the principles that Jim Collins talks about is the principle of the flywheel. And the flywheel is a big, heavy wheel that is on a steam locomotive or a steam engine or a threshing machine or something like that. And it's really hard to get the flywheel moving. But once you get the flywheel moving, it takes a great deal of effort. And 10 years ago, when we started getting together with Aberhart Farms, it took a great deal of effort. It took a great deal of courage for Harvey to go from this to this. It took a great deal of courage for the Aberhart team to loosen up and share information with other people. It took a great deal of effort to get the flywheel moving, just get it moving. And over time, what's happened is a number of things have happened. Number one is there's been more people put on the team. So as you look around the room today and just study the faces, you'll see that there's more people working on pulling the flywheel. So more people pulling the flywheel. The other thing that's happened is that we've done a better and better job over time of figuring out who you are, who Harvey is, who Terry is, who all the people are. And I really was very interested in a couple of the exercises that you guys shared, which was the domain key exercise. And of course, I just love the unique ability. So when I look at the Aberhart farm thing, a couple of things come to mind. Number one is the flywheel. It took so much effort to get the flywheel moving, but once you get a flywheel moving, it really takes very little effort to keep the momentum going. If you have many people pulling on the flywheel, each one of you can take a break because another person gets up there and moves the flywheel forward. I'll never forget the conversation we had between Harvey and Eldon. And that was around, what's on your mind, Harvey? And Harvey had all these things on his brain at that time. He had to negotiate landlord leases. There was some three-phase power that I think needed to be moved out to Gopherville at the time. There was legal documents that had to be taken care of. And, Eldon had to move grain. There's a lot of grain that had to be moved. And Harvey was very concerned about moving the grain. And the net result of this is, what can Harvey do that Eldon can't do? What can Eldon do to keep the flywheel going that allowed Harvey to do what he needs to do? And if Harvey ever showed up near the truck with a shovel, Eldon should, give him a kick in the rear, because there's things that Harvey needs to do that only Harvey can do, and everybody needs to work. And so the second principle of good to great that I recall was the principle of the right people on the right seats of the bus. And I think that one of the real big differentiating factors today between farms that will be successful in the future and farms that won't be successful in the future are the following. How well do you adopt technology and increase technology in your farming operation? I think that'll be big. How well do you farm? In other words, how well do you allocate resources to produce a crop or livestock on the farming operation? How well do you control expenses? All of those things are important. But I believe the thing that will separate successful farms moving forward versus farms that struggle will be the ability to work and work together as a team. In other words, I believe the most important asset of Aberhart Farms is sitting in the room right now, without a doubt. This is the most important asset by far. You've got tractors, you've got combines, you've got grain bins, you've got dryers, you got all kinds of things. But the most important asset that leverages all of those things is in the room right now. The more that you guys understand where the operation is headed, and I think that Aberharts have done a good job of articulating the why. Why do you guys do what you do, growing our future? Like, why do you do what you do? Because you're part of that big picture of producing safe, reliable food for the planet. And I think these meetings that you have right now are really important for resetting. And what I mean by that is resetting the North Star. In other words, what are the important things for the next 3 years? What are the important things for the next year? And that'll lead itself to the top 10. And then that leads itself to 30, 60, 90 things that we do in the Power Farm group. So the North Star is very important. The other thing that happens in business, I was going to grab it, but I don't have it quickly, is something called the ceiling of complexity. When Harvey was farming by himself and grew the farm, the way that he knew how to do that was by working harder. So you would work off the farm, you'd work on the farm, and you'd work harder and harder. And sooner or later, what happens is you hit a ceiling of complexity. Something happens, some sort of a crisis. Either it's financial, you just run out of money, or it could be health, you run out of health, or it could be relationship. There's a crisis. And so what happens over time is you back up and you hit the ceiling harder. We've talked about this. And eventually it's that you realize that you need to start pulling a team together. And that's when young Terry Aberhart started coming back to the farm. That's when we got introduced to AgriTrend. That's when we got introduced to Strategic Coach, which talks about the ceiling of complexity. The way to break through the ceiling of complexity is not for somebody like Harvey to work harder, is to start assembling a team. And the team will be assembled over time. And I've watched as Aberharts have assembled a wonderful team of people. And you're all very blessed, because in a time of COVID, you guys still can all work together. In a time of COVID, agriculture is an essential industry. Everybody understands the importance of agriculture. In a time of COVID, you're not quarantined in a 600 square foot apartment in some city. You have the ability to go outside and work together, stretch your wings. And in a time of COVID, you've got a career path that's just crystal clear. The fact that the future looks really, really good. So a team is assembled, and the team works together, and the team gets things going, and then the team hits the ceiling of complexity. What is that ceiling of complexity? Well, usually what happens is the ability of the team to work harder sooner or later taps out. Same thing as the entrepreneur. Sooner or later, the team taps out, and you guys have hit a ceiling of complexity. There's only so many hours anybody can spend on a sprayer. There's only so many hours you could be away from your family before that starts to take a toll. And so what breaks through that next ceiling of complexity, so the team is working together, what breaks through that ceiling of complexity is working through processes on the farm. And so you guys have been spending a lot of time on processes, and now with EOS, you guys are even spending more time on processes. It means that if you have the right people on the right seats of the bus and everybody trusts each other, that you can leverage the momentum of the team through processes and that'll break through that complexity. That's where the farm is at today. So what's the next ceiling of complexity? What is the next number of years looking like for Aberhart Farms, and what is the next ceiling of complexity? Well, I'll argue that the next ceiling of complexity you'll face on the farm is the digitization of Aberhart Farms. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean that farming is a business that's tied to nature. You have got to deal with weather. You've got to deal with, rainfall, frost, and hail, and all the stuff that comes down. And then you've got the aberrations of the marketplace. But the thing that's going to break Aberhart Farms through it to the next level will be the digitization of Aberhart Farms. That's the next ceiling of complexity you will face as you move down this journey. What do I mean by that? I mean that the day is pretty much done when Donald or Harvey or Terry can wake up, or anybody can wake up and manage the farm based on their gut feeling, based on experience. What's going to happen over the course of the next number of years at Aberhart Farms is the digitization of your processes. And you guys are seeing that now. In other words, the tools that you're using, you're adopting, the technologies you're adopting, some will come, some will go, but the important thing is for you to try and try and try, and eventually to be able to digitize that operation. The holy grail that Aberhart Farms is sitting on right now is your database. It's your holy grail. And I do not mean that it's valuable where you control this database because it's valuable. No, it's exactly the opposite. You let this database out to a number of people so they can play with your database, because the hidden gems that I think are not the database. The hidden gems inside of the information that you generated from Aberhart Farms, you don't know what the hidden gems are. And it's going to take people that are able to mine the database and to bring back ideas to you as to, hey, did you know this, and this is happening based on the number of years of data? This is what you can expect in this kind of a year, in this kind of a situation. I think that's where the true gold is going forward. So farmers have gone from rugged individualists to building teams, to building processes like standard operating procedures and EOS, to digitization of the farm. And I think that's where we're headed in the next number of years. I don't think many people in agriculture would understand what I just said. They would probably say that, I'm full of shit, but I'm not. It's exactly where the world is going. And again, you guys have been well set up to do this. You've been well set up to capture this. So sometimes when it's a pain in the ass to stop at the edge of the field and put in that bit of data as to actually what happened, just be a little bit patient and know that it's part of the next barrier you're going to break through. The next barrier you're going to break through. And that's going to afford itself access to markets. It'll give you first right to sell your products. It'll connect you closer to the consumer. It'll give more confidence to the people buying your product off the farm. And ultimately, it'll make for more secure jobs for you guys in Aberhart Farms. So that's kind of what I see, Terry, where you guys have come from, where you're going. A lot of the tools that you guys have been using, whether it's Kolbe or whether it's the North Star and the top 10 and 30, 60, 90, and now I know you're moving into the EOS system, which layers on top of it. And the way that I think about this is that strategic coach, the work that Terry does there, is the why. Why do you do things? And then I think that a lot of the work you're working on right now with the next level is who, and RACI charts go to the who, and then the how is really the EOS system that you're implementing. And I'm very interested in watching you guys move through the process of implementing EOS. I also want to say that how proud I am of the organization. You guys have really done a remarkable job. I think you're a shining example. You in the room there may not realize how good you are, but you are very good at what you do. And it's allowing you to expand the farming operation and do things that you only dreamed of doing a number of years ago. So Terry, I think I'll wind it up with those kind of key thoughts. It's been an honor for me to be involved in this, and Aberhart's being involved in the Power Farm Group. And today is Canadian Agriculture Day in Canada. So no better day to celebrate Aberhart Farms than on the day that Canada is celebrating agriculture. So thanks for letting me be.